Hey, what's up? I clicked the button. I didn't realize it. I'm live. What's going on, everybody? It's Coach Bronson here. It's another Tuesday night live. We are answering questions that you may have about health and fitness. As always, this is your show. So you get on here, you ask questions, and we will have as much of a conversation as we can have based on the questions you guys ask and how engaged you are. So um, I get on here every Tuesday evening. I'm a little late tonight, in case you didn't realize. I'm about 10 minutes late. So if there's anybody that was trying to get on at 8 and didn't see me, they're probably thinking, "Oh, he's not doing it tonight." I'm doing it tonight. If nobody pops on, then I will just ramble for a little bit. Hopefully, give you guys something to think about, and then we'll hop off and try it again next week. So never know how this is going to go. Sometimes we get 30, 40 people on here. Sometimes we get nobody, but that's just the way things go. In the meantime, while we're waiting on people to pop on, I am going to just give you guys an update what's going on with me. In case you didn't know, in case you hadn't heard, Nat and I am moving. Nat is moving. We're moving to out of Maryland into Virginia. Got some cool stuff going on. So I don't do a lot of lifestyle stuff on my social media. So if you want to know what's going on with us, how we're getting ready to move, where we're moving, all that kind of stuff, go follow the Keto Bikini Pro on Instagram. She does all the lifestyle, where we're eating out, where we're moving to, what the packing situation is going to be like, all that kind of stuff. She'll give all the updates there. So we'll be moving in a few weeks. By the end of September, we'll be moved out of Maryland. It will be my first time living outside of Maryland since 2003. So I grew up in the area, been back in this area for 20 years. It is hard to believe that it's been 20 years. It feels like yesterday that I made the decision to come back here from being in the military. I was living in New England. Got a job opportunity down here, so I took it. It's crazy to think 20 years. How does 20 years go by so dang fast? The amount of things that happened in 25 years is mind-boggling. And the fact that I'm only 50, guys, I got another 30, 40, 50 years to go. I'm optimistic. I'm looking at 50. Okay. 100. That's my number. Bob Barker can make it to 99. I can make it to 100. Dang it. Get on that number. That's how it's going to be. All right. So we got a few people on watching. If you guys are on, you have some questions, anything you guys have heard on the internet, anything you've seen in a newspaper article or a magazine or read online, whatever it may be, please ask me about it. If there's something you're challenged or struggling with in your own journey and you want to know more information about how you can break a stall or get to the next level, let me know and we will have a discussion. When there's not a lot of people that are on a live, that gives you an opportunity to get some really good in depth, more of a response than you would normally get because I got the time. We can get more specific than I normally would. Normally, I try to stay general and talk about just overall information to give you guys a direction to go because I want you to have the control. But sometimes we got time and we got things to talk about, so we dig in deep. So if you're on here and you're watching, what do you have questions about in your life, in your journey from health and fitness, from a health perspective, nutrition perspective, habit, behavior change, any of that kind of stuff? What are some things you're dealing with and struggling with that I can help you with, hopefully, break through and get to the next level? While we're waiting on people to ask questions, I'm going to just let you guys in on a little insight that I had earlier this week. I was listening to, of all places, TikTok. I can't say it's TikTok and I have a weird relationship. I am not necessarily a fan of TikTok, but I have found a remarkable number of very insightful and applicable pieces of information, videos, content. I found an incredible amount of stuff on there amidst all of the absolutely worthless stuff that is out there. So TikTok is a very good microcosm of the internet as a whole. There's good stuff out there if you're looking for it. And the more you are specific about what you're looking for, the more good stuff you're going to find. But sometimes you got to sort through a lot of crap. But anywho, there was somebody on there talking about your journey and the people around you holding you back. We often talk about your circle and how important it is to keep a good circle of people who are going to support you and allow you to grow and encourage you to grow and change. And that's not the case for everybody. And a lot of people are dealing with people who don't want them to grow and change, who want to hold them back, who want to keep them in the state and keep them being the person that they are now. Hey, what's up, Deb? How are you doing? We often look at that as a negative, and we talk about getting away from the people that are holding you back. We talk about finding a new circle of people. You've heard the saying, you can't soar with the eagles if you're hanging out with chickens, right? There's a lot of that back and forth, okay? That negative connotation of if people are holding you back, you need to get away from them. And she took this content that I saw, this lady was talking about, looking at it from a different perspective. And looking at it from the perspective of what if they weren't holding you back because you were doing something that reminded them of something they weren't willing to do, or doing something that they didn't want to see you succeed because they didn't have any desire to succeed, so they were trying to hold you back. Like there's that negative connotation or negative idea that if somebody's not willing to change and grow, then they're going to hold you back because they don't want you to change and grow. They want you to stay the same as them because when you're different, then it makes them feel bad about where they're at. What if we flip that and we look at that from their perspective with grace, and we say, well, what if the reason that they're trying to hold you back is because they're scared? What if the reason that they're trying to hold you back is because you are becoming a person that is different than the person that they have gotten to know and love and care about? We talk about identity all the time, and we talk about part of the process of change and growth is that you have to develop the identity of the new person that you want to become. What is the new lifestyle? What is the new mindset? What are the new perceptions and belief systems that you're going to build your life of? What are the new habits and things that you're going to change in your life to live a new lifestyle and be a new person? You are building a new identity. You are becoming different than you are now. In that process, the people around you, some of them may be scared. Okay? Who are you going to become? Maybe I won't like this person. Right? That's a very valid thought process. You're essentially, this is really, think about this, guys. You are essentially breaking up with them in the relationship that they have established in their reality and redefining yourself, which means you are forcing a reality shift in their lives. A reality shift, a change in the way they view the world that they never asked for. Okay? You are having a change effect in their life. All right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. That may not be something they're prepared for. And their defense mechanism, their coping mechanism is no, don't change. Get back over here where I know you're supposed to be in this box. This is what my reality says. You belong in this box. You need to stay here because I don't know how to handle it if you're not in this box. They're not necessarily trying to hold you back because you make them feel bad because you're changing and they're not. That may be the case for some people, but there's other people who you might need to have conversations with and explain to them what's going on and explain to them the process and explain to them that you still are at your core who you are, just what you do, how you live your life. And there's still things about you that will be on the surface different, and even internally that will be different, but you're still you. And you still want to have that relationship with them. And there's still an aspect of your life that they can fit into, right? So making them feel comfortable with the change instead of forcing it on them without having that communication. So communicating with the people in your circle that you can't get away from, okay? Particularly your spouse and your kids and your extended family. Those are the three biggest ones where this really comes into effect, okay? Maybe your super close friends, if you have a handful of really close friends, that may be an issue with them as well. But particularly your spouse and your family, they're freaking out. Who is this person? Talk with them. Let them know, especially if you're living with them. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is why I'm trying to do it. This is what I need from you guys. I understand I'm redefining myself and I'm redefining our relationship in that change. But it's okay. It's for the better. I'm going to be happier. You're going to be happier. If you want things to be good for me, this is something that I need to do. And then work with them and how you can make that change more sustainable and not quite as drastic. Okay. When you have conversations about what's going on with the people you love, it makes things a lot easier. We'll try to look at it from their perspective. And it's not always a bad perspective. Okay. Sometimes it's just fear, resistance to change, uncertainty, anxiety. What's happening? Where's this going? How does this affect me? Those types of things. So there's a lot of different levels to that, but I think that's a really cool idea of looking at it through their eyes, through grace, and kind of seeing what it is that they're seeing in your relationship that you change. They didn't ask for that change, and how do you address that? Cool. Some stuff to think about, guys. Deep thoughts on a is it Tuesday? Tuesday evening. Deep thoughts on a Tuesday evening. Okay, let's see here. We got a couple people popping on. Jay in Thailand. What's up, Jay? We got Christina. Good evening, coach. Hey, you're excited to catch a live. I'm excited that you caught a live. Fumpus Fimpus? Okay, Fumpus Fimpus. I need like background on what the heck Fumpus Fimpus is. Jay in Thailand says, let's see here. Hold on. My mouse stopped working. Where did my mouse go? There we go. Jay says, eating predominantly carnivore. However, starting the day with a sugary coffee seems to improve my day. Is this addiction or am I benefiting from morning carbohydrates? And if so, any recommendations? Wow, there's a lot there. What does benefiting, okay, eating predominantly carbohydrates, starting the day with a sugary coffee seems to improve my day. What does improve my day mean? That's the first question. Does a coffee without sugar do the same thing? If you need to, I'll tell you this, and then your question is this addiction or am I benefiting from morning carbohydrates? I'll tell you one thing. If you need morning carbohydrates to have a good day, then you're not benefiting from them. You are relying on them. We rely on things to keep us alive and functioning. We do not rely on things in order to be optimal. Okay. If you want to be healthy and have your body work the way it should work and have you feel good all day long, no matter what's going on, then having to ingest something in order to feel optimal is not where you want to be, because you are only feeling optimal because you're ingesting the thing, not because your body's actually working optimally. Okay. So I would say that you may be getting a boost of energy from all that sugar. What is it doing to you long term from an inflammation standpoint, hormone regulation standpoint, gut standpoint, things like that, as well as the fact that you are relying on an exogenous substance in order to feel good. Okay. That to me, regardless of the emotional aspects and the habit change behavior around it, could be a road to addiction. It may be an addiction you don't even know you have, right? So the addiction may be strong. I don't know. It could very well fit into that category depending on where you're at with it. But I would say the reliance on a substance in order to feel good is not where I would want to be. Hope that answers your question, Jay. That makes sense. Let's see. Fumpus Fimpus says, hey, I only just got here, but yeah, sounds like this is the topic of going against the grain. It is about going against the grain. Anything that we're doing in this space, keto, carnivore community, even the fitness community, guys, I don't think you understand how abnormal and extraordinary we are if we are actively taking a role in improving our health. Okay. Just think about the sheer numbers of people. 80% of the United States is obese. I think it's about 60 or closer to 70. We're getting close to 70% now of the United States is, 80% is overweight. 60 to 70%. We're getting closer to 70% of Americans are obese. Okay. Untold millions of people have insulin resistance. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people have diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all sorts of things. I believe the last time I looked at the information, it was like 5% of the US population goes to the gym more than 3 days a week or something like that. It's some crazy super low number or works out a certain number of hours in a week. You guys that are consistently doing things from a nutrition perspective, from a learning perspective, from a fitness perspective to try to improve your health, you are doing something that a small minority of people in the world are doing. Okay. You are extraordinary and you guys are going directly against the grain. Okay. Just in that. When you throw in the idea that we're doing it by doing the opposite of what everyone's being told to do, we're not just going against the grain, we are mowing it down. Okay. We are mowing that stuff down. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yes, definitely go against the grain. Okay. Fumpus Fimpus said, what is she saying? First, the mainstream says sugar is the problem. Isn't it a bit weird that they also want to ban meat? About how contradictory? No, what would their game plan be? We're not going to get into all that. We could talk for hours on the conspiracy theories that I don't think are conspiracy theories. I think there is a definite agenda when it comes to all of the things in government control, global economy, et cetera, in a move to create an absolute dependence on the government for everything. Yeah. Christina said, already started adding more protein to my diet. That is very often a fantastic thing to do. Keep that up. Becky Swarm says, hello. Hey, Becky, how are you? Everybody say hi to Becky. Hello. Let's see. Fumpus Fimpus said something about the name being a code. Fumpus Fepus. Oh, it's an L, it's an I, not an E. Okay, fantastic. I'm not even gonna try to figure that out. Tracy, what's going on? Tracy says, hi, friends. Hi, Tracy. Tracy, Christina, Becky, you guys have any questions? How are things going with you? I haven't talked to you guys. Christina and Becky. Becky, we just talked about some stuff with you recently in the group, didn't we? There's a missed question above of why added more protein. Oh, hold on. What did I miss? I missed a question. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Christina says, any recommendations for healing gut health alongside carnivore? I've been doing this way of eating for about 3 to 5 months, 3 to 3.5 months. And recent blood work shows I'm malnourished with low protein. Okay. So malnourished, when you say you're eating more protein, I'm going to assume you're eating more whole food red meat. That is going to be the best way to improve the nourishment. Okay. And just in general, eating more. Many people, particularly women over the 40s, based on their age, generation, how they were brought up, many women that I work with undereat in general. So just eating more is often part of the solution to fixing a whole lot of problems. When you just eat more, you give your body the nutrition it needs, and you start prioritizing protein and getting more protein in, a whole bunch of things get better. Okay. So that's kind of the step number one. Are you eating enough, and are you eating mostly red meat? That's number one. Number two, gut health. Removing the first and best thing you can do for healing your gut is to stop eating all the stuff that was messing it up. Okay. That includes fiber. That includes potentially a lot of plant things. Some people don't have an issue with certain plant things. Now, if your gut is messed up, I wouldn't worry about testing out what things you can eat from a whole foods plant perspective until your gut is better. So if you're having symptoms, if you have had, gut test, stool test, if you have IBS, if you have any of these other issues with your gut, and you're having problems with digestion, you have esophageal issues, there's all sorts of different things you can have with your gut. Okay, low stomach acid, low enzymes, all sorts of stuff. If you're having any of that stuff, Get all that stuff fixed before you start thinking about plants. Step number one is go carnivore until things are fixed. That is usually my first recommendation. Now, there may be some things that you need to do to fix it, and that is something that you should get with a gut specialist or someone who can kind of help you with that. Sometimes there's enzymes, sometimes it's hydrochloric acid supplementation. There's other types of supplements you can take to help improve the function of your gut. When we think about gut, guys, remember it's not always, everyone's so hyped on the biohacking idea of gut microbiome. It's not always a microbiome thing. It could be lack of stomach acid. It could be missing enzyme. It could be some other imbalance, a pH thing. And who knows? It could be other stuff all over the place, right? So when we think about our gut, the first thing everybody wants to say is, oh, you need some prebiotics. Oh, you need some probiotics. Maybe you don't. Okay. Get the crap out. Give it meat. Okay. Which, FYI, a lot of people don't know this, but collagen that comes in whole red meat. Okay. When you eat a steak and it's got all that marbling and it's got the little chewy parts in there and you're eating that up and you're eating that, it's in between the muscles, right? That's collagen. That is a fiber as far as your gut is concerned. It is going to help improve gut microbiome and improve the things that fiber normally would. The difference is it's organic fiber because it is a protein and then it is absorbed and utilized by the body. So it is not insoluble. It is a organic protein. Okay. I should say it is an animal-based protein, not a plant-based protein, because plants are organic as well. So I want to get into that. Okay, it's a plant-based protein fiber that your body can actually utilize. So collagen, okay, the fascia, when we talk about eating meat, the fascia and that stuff you see in the meat when you're eating that is natural fiber. Okay, so it does the same kind of thing. Your body can work great and get better on just meat. Once that's done, then you can look at, okay, if I eat Brussels sprouts, does it bother me? If I eat Brussels sprouts every day for a week, does it bother me? I think I can do Brussels sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts. I'm going to do some Brussels sprouts. Can I do sweet potatoes? Sweet potatoes don't bother me. But if I do sweet potatoes 3 days in a row, then I start feeling puffy and inflamed. So maybe if I have sweet potatoes once a week, I can try that. I try that. Oh, once a week for 3 weeks, I seem to be fine. I don't have an inflammatory reaction to that. Maybe I can have sweet potatoes every once in a while, right? Go through that process and see how that works. Always comparing it to, are the things that were bothering me coming back? If they're coming back, push them back out there, get back to that meat focus. You should never not have a meat focus, even if you're introducing some veggies. Get back to that meat focus and then go from there. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Christina. Right. Gut health alongside carnivore is the crux of your question. And yes, absolutely. Carnivore is step number one. Step number two, get with a specialist and figure out if there's anything specific that you need to do. A lot of times, for me, my gut health, just stopping the crap fixed it. I didn't have to do anything extra, right? 60 to 90 days of just eating meat and eggs, all my stuff went away. I haven't had a problem since. So maybe that could be all it is. You may need to get some help as well. Something to play around with. Okay. Let's see. Becky, we got Christy says, hi, Becky. Tracy says, hi, friends. Deb says, hi, Becky. How do we know what is too much protein? Okay. In general, I will tell you that in general, unless you are a high performance athlete, you probably don't need more than 1.25 grams of protein per lean body mass. Okay. So let me just do some math real quick. I'll just throw some numbers out here. Let me pull my calculator up just to give you guys an idea. Okay. Let's see. Calculator. All right. So if I weigh, let's do my numbers. I weigh 185 pounds. Okay. And I am, let's say 15% body fat. So that's times 0.15. So 27.75 off of 185 minus 27.75. So I have 157 0.25 pounds of lean body mass. That's everything in my body that's not fat. Okay. If I take that, so that's my starting point. So for me, my starting point is 1 gram per pound of lean mass. I start my numbers for protein intake start at about 155 to 160. Okay. If I want to go up, then I would go times 1.25, and that would take me to 196.56. So about 196, 197 grams of protein would be the most that I really ever need. I have gone as high as 2 times in experimentation, things like that. And I find that anything over 1.25 really doesn't give me any more benefit than anything else. So for me, outside of just stuffing my face and feeling like I can eat all the meat in the world, getting 250 grams, 300 grams of protein isn't really helping me any more than getting 200 or 180, right? So 1.25 is probably the most. Most people do really well at 1 gram per pound of lean mass, maybe 1.1 if you want to get really specific. But a great place to start. And most people that I work with, most women that I work with, because that's who I work with. Most women that I work with are well under 1-to-1, 1 gram per pound of lean mass. So when we get them to 1-to-1, they have already drastically increased the amount of protein they're getting, and going higher than that really isn't usually that necessary. Hope that answers your question, Becky. All right. Let's see. This is an interesting question. I really can't give you a specific. Let's see what I don't remember what the RDA for potassium is. Let's see. RDA for potassium. Let's see. All right. So this question: how much potassium is needed daily on a carnivore diet? So the RDA currently, based on the standard American diet, is apparently 1,600 to 2,000 milligrams. Okay, 1.5 to 2 grams a day. Okay. I would say you have to play around with it. I'll just give you an example. What is see? How much is in? Let's see. Let's see how much is in an element, because that's one of the things I drink most of the time. So an element has, so an element pack, one element pack has 200 milligrams of potassium. Okay. I do about, right now, I'm doing 5 to 6 of those a day. Okay. So I'm getting about a little over a gram of potassium a day with that. In my meat, see how much potassium is in hamburger, is in beef. Potassium. Why is it doing that? Hold on a second. I don't know what is going on here. That's what I want, not that. Okay. Potassium in beef. Let's see what we got here. All right, so 270 milligrams in 3 ounces. All right, so I do on average a day. Let's see, my first meal of the day is usually 18. So that's 6. What's 6 times 270? So that's another 1,600. So just in the meat that I'm eating and the packets that the electrolytes that I drink, I'm doing about 2,700 milligrams a day. So I'm over that recommendation. Okay. Right at the recommendation is 1,600 to 2,000. I'm at 2,700. Okay. I'm also way over. I can tell you right now, I'm way over on the sodium as well. My sodium is through the roof. I'm at like 8 grams of sodium plus a day. So that's just where that's at. So hope that answers your question. You really have to play around with, what are you doing? What happens if first off, what are you taking now? How do you feel? What happens if you take a little bit more? What happens if you take a little bit less? You have to play around with it. Make sure if you lower your potassium, there's a balance with the sodium. So don't lower it too low where you're getting a ton of sodium and you're not getting you're not getting enough potassium. Don't raise your potassium and then drop your sodium super low. Like play around with those and see what works best for you. But I have not had a problem with low potassium. Again, whenever I increase my sodium, my potassium goes up because I'm getting both together most of the time. So yeah, again, guys, you're going to find as you watch me more and more, understanding where the ranges are is really just a starting point. You have to play around and experiment. The process of experimentation is where you find your success. Okay. Not finding a magic number. You got to learn how to experiment. And I don't mean you got to pull out the scientific method and get a textbook out on what is science and how to experiment, but you have to collect data. You have to make small, specific changes and then track the results before you make another small, specific change. That's as simple as it needs to be. Okay. Don't make drastic changes and don't change 8 things at the same time. Okay. Understand that the process is going to take some time because you have to evaluate what's happening and then make a decision on what you want to try the next time. Okay. So being willing to experiment is part of the process of improving your health. Okay. You guys, you got to do that. It's crucial that you do that. Hope that helps. Low carb carnivore. I love it. Christina says, hi, Tracy. Let's see. We got any other questions in here? Aubrey White. All right, let's see here. Hi, Coach. I'm 46. One of the reasons I started carnivore was because of painful periods. I didn't have pain anymore. I don't have pain anymore, but I still have a day of heavy bleeding. I've been carnivore for a year. Okay. Without knowing any of your history, it's really hard to talk about that. I would say, are you working with a functional medicine doctor? I would highly recommend a functional medicine doctor who has experience on the hormone side of things. From a diet perspective, are you eating enough? Are you getting your sodium? What does your overall stress look like? The basics, like what is the foundational level of things? And any good doctor should ask you that stuff. What is the basic foundation of things? What's your overall history with that? There's a whole bunch of things. Obviously, I don't have cycles. I am not an expert on cycles, but I do have some people that I could refer you to if you have specific questions. If you want to shoot me a message, my email is coach@coachbronson.com, and I can refer you to some people to talk to. Okay. Ooh, here's a great question. Hey, babe, you want to come here for this one? We'll see if she wants to join me. This is the question. This is the kind of question I love getting her in on. You want to come join me for a minute? I got a question. How do I get my wife on board with diet and exercise with me?
Oh, maybe I shouldn't touch that one.
Why not? Hi, everybody. Say hi to Coach Nat.
I'll tell you how not to get your wife on board.
How not? Can you guys hear her?
Whatever you do, don't tell her she's getting fluffy. In any way, shape, or form.
No.
I just saw that go horribly wrong on TikTok.
Did you? I was just talking about TikTok. Okay, so I think probably the first thing is what I talked about earlier, and just having a conversation about here's what I'm doing and here's why I'm doing it. So making sure that she understands, number one, this is important to you for these reasons, and you're going to be doing it. Okay, that's the first thing. You have to be consistent. If you're not consistent, why should she even bother?
My hair.
Your hair is crazy right now.
It's crazy. It's taking over.
You look like what the heck is wrong?
Shaka Khan.
If you're gonna do that, you gotta pull.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's
there we go. Okay, there we
so
go.
big.
It's
Woo.
so crazy.
Oh my god.
Wow.
That's what happens when
What's up, Tina?
That's what happens when I actually wash
What's
it
up, Tina?
and let it do.
What's that? Okay. All right, things are a little different when she pops on, in case you guys notice. What was I saying?
He can never.
Oh, you got to talk. You got to be consistent first. So step number one
Why is that so dark?
is being consistent. It's always like this in here.
Really?
Yeah.
Move
I don't have one of those bright flash floodlights that you have.
I mean, it's super bright, but it doesn't show up there.
Be consistent. Talk with her about the importance of why you're doing it. And then the second thing is express your desire to have something together that you want to do. Don't do it because you think she needs to do it. Not the conversation you want to have. Okay. Don't you want to be healthy? Don't you want to be fit? Not the conversation to have.
Babe.
Okay.
We just had this. We were just talking the other day about something so powerful that I was saying we need to start incorporating it into our onboarding procedures for
I talked about that already.
Coaching clients.
I talked about that. I talked about that earlier.
Well, this is the perfect example.
Oh, having a conversation. That's what I'm saying. Going back to what I said. If you didn't watch this, or if you weren't on earlier, go back and watch the replay. I had a good monologue because nobody logged in for a little bit. So I had a good 5 or 10 minutes where
everybody got on.
I just monologued.
So that's where the answer is, really.
Yeah, so I just monologued about talking about how to look at things from your people in your circle's perspective, about how you're changing, and they're afraid of you changing, becoming someone that they don't know.
But in general, like the whole concept of actually sitting down and having a serious conversation about it when nobody is on the defensive. So, like, how many times in our lives do we sit down with our partner and say, hey, I want to start something. I want to go on this journey of self-improvement. And this is what I'm expecting, or this is what I'm committing to. And this is why, a lot of the time we expect the people in our lives to just
go with the flow,
or understand where we're coming from when we've never sat down and actually had a conversation with them about it.
And there's some things that can happen with, but when it's big like this, you really have to have a talk.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like you wouldn't go out and spend $100,000 on a Ferrari,
on anything,
on a Ferrari
without
having a discussion. And this isn't spending $100,000, but you are making a decision about your life and how you want to live your life, right? It's like buying a house.
We also talked about coaching and how a lot of the time on discovery calls, we'll talk to someone and they'll say, well, I need to talk to my partner about this, right? Before they invest in coaching. Sometimes they're prepared to have those conversations and sometimes they're not. Yeah. And then the reaction or the response they get from either support or the opposite can happen if you're not prepared to have those conversations.
And in that situation, this is something that I highly recommend. Talk to your spouse before you call and look for coaches, right? Yeah. Go into your conversation with a potential coach already knowing that you have the backing and you have the support of the person who's going to potentially help you fund it.
Discuss your budget first.
Discuss all that so you know what you're going in with.
Yeah.
Right. So, don't waste your time. Don't waste the coach's time. If you haven't even had, this is something I have at work. Okay. This is something that drives me crazy at work. When I have an employee who doesn't say anything to me, and then I get an email from our internal system at work that says, so-and-so wants you to spend $3,000 so then they go to a training course. I'm like, since when?
Where was
I was 10 feet away from this person. They could have come and just talked to me anytime and said, hey, I'm looking at doing this for professional development. I'd like to go this time. Here's, what it's all about, why I think this is the course I need to go to. Like, have a conversation. And then when I get the request, I can go, oh yeah, we talked about that. Cool, check. Because we've already had that conversation. And then it's not well, why aren't you going to do it? What's wrong? Then there's no contention. There's no defensiveness. You just get all that stuff out of the way before you go talk to a coach.
And as it relates to, like, let's say the fitness part of your journey, right? Because if you want to get your wife on board with diet and exercise, okay, what does the exercise look like? What are you committing to? What are you interested in doing? Maybe you want to do it together. Maybe you want to have your own things. Every time Bronson has wanted to, like when you wanted to go back to BJJ, you talked to me about that. When you were talking about potentially looking for a CrossFit gym again, you talked to me about that, right? I'm not into the same things on fitness. We're in different worlds in terms of what we enjoy doing in the gym. In terms of what we enjoy doing, like I would never go look for BJJ. I wouldn't want to do BJJ with him. Or CrossFit for that matter. I would not want to go to a CrossFit gym. I'm not going to say that actually. I might potentially one day do that. But
I think if
he also said he did want to do a Tough Mudder.
If you know how to do a Tough Mudder. If you, I'll just say, total segue. If you went to a good CrossFit gym with good coaching, I think you would actually have a really good time. It's fun. It's fun. Anywho,
I'm not going to rule it out.
You're not going to. Don't expect you're both going to want to do the same thing
at the same time. Because there have been times you've run bodybuilding. He's run a bodybuilding hypertrophy plan for himself, and there were times he had me doing not quite powerlifting, more strength training. That is not really my jam, and I did that for a little while. But then I wanted to go back to my bodybuilding training. So talk to her about what you're interested in doing, what you're thinking about doing, why you're excited about it, and have conversations with her about maybe if she wants to do that with you, if it might be something she's interested in as well. Yeah. And if not, you got to respect where she is, because whatever has gotten you to the point where you wanted to do this for your health and fitness, your diet change, your fitness change, she may not be there and may not have a similar, drive to do that.
Yeah. Cool. All right, you want to take this one too?
Oh, but for the diet.
For the diet,
let's say, for instance, it's keto, right? Yeah. Keto or carnivore. And you're like, she's totally standard American diet, right? Maybe you cook some meals for her and see what she thinks about the things you cook.
Yeah, there's a couple options there. Do you cook? Does she cook? Does she like to cook? If she likes to cook, then here's the cool thing. If she does a lot of the cooking and she likes to cook, get one of Maria Emmerich's keto cookbooks and ask her to cook for you.
I was going to say, ask her to cook.
So now she's going to be cooking recipes of things that she's going to be like, that looks really freaking good. Let me try that. And she may be more inclined to do it. I know for me, when I was making changes, I was much more inclined to eat things that I normally wouldn't have eaten because I made it. Like if I make it, I'm going to freaking eat it. You know what I mean? So that maybe that can play a role. That can play a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. If she's the one that does the grocery shopping and the cooking, then you definitely have to sit down and have a conversation. It's that one. Yesterday was a really good biceps and delts day.
Yeah,
and that's my weak bicep. That's the good one. But if she's the one that does all that, then you definitely have to sit down and have a conversation, because you have to say, hey, there's this diet I want to do. It's going to require different types of groceries. It's going to require different, and explain why it's important to you and how she can support you in doing that. And really, for anyone trying to get anybody else in their lifestyle interested in it, doing it yourself and doing it well and being happy while you're doing it is going to make a big difference.
I think the key to getting anybody in your life to be, first off, they have to be accepting of what you're doing. And the only way that's going to happen is if you don't force it on them. You try to work with them with what you're doing. Okay. And then secondly, for them to start doing it, they have to see that it's working for you, that you're consistent, and that it's actually making a difference. If that isn't happening, then why would anybody want to do it?
And if you're miserable while you're doing
it, miserable and complaining the whole time, then
they're not going to want to right? Be a good advocate.
Yes. Awesome. All right, we got another question here. Carnivore 1 month and constant runs many times a day. This has become a you and I video, by the way.
Hi. That's cool. I actually was procrastinating on things. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
10 or 15 minutes left. Carnivore 1 month and constant runs many times a day. Okay. There's a few things this could be. It could just be your body's resetting.
Your microbiome is changing.
Just could be your body's resetting, and just keep doing what you're doing. Now, are you getting enough sodium? What things are you eating on carnivore? Are you sticking to just, whole food red meats? Are you doing protein powders? Are you doing any kind of other things? Like there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. But I would say if you are getting enough electrolytes, you are hydrating, and you are just sticking to meat not adding a ton of fat to everything.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay, because that's not going to help.
Liquid fat will have you running for sure.
The fat that you eat, you want it to come from the meat.
That rhymed.
I did not do that on purpose. Okay, but that's where you want to get your fat from. So adding butter, adding avocado oil, adding whatever else you're doing. If you're doing that stuff, don't do that. Just eat fatty meat and eggs, and give it time. A month, I would say, unless you're having issues with dehydration. What do you think? A month and a half to 2 months should be before I would go talk to somebody and get call a coach, call a doctor, something like that.
Yeah, it can take a little while. I mean,
and is it like all the time, or is it just once a day? Is it? I mean, there's a whole bunch of
the first thing is look at how much fat you're eating, because if you're adding fat, especially liquid fat, that will definitely do that.
That will not help.
It's also going to happen.
MCT.
It happens at the beginning anyway when you're cutting all that fiber out. You just have nothing bulking up the stool. So that's part of it. Definitely replace your electrolytes, because you are losing it every time you go. So replace.
Yeah, you probably need more than you're getting.
Yeah.
You might think you're getting one of the most common things I get when people go carnivore, and I say, how much sodium are you getting? They're like, well, I salt my food. It's like, okay, that's great. Take some more. Right, and 3 to 5 grams of sodium per day.
If you're
magnesium every day.
But if you're taking magnesium, you could be taking the wrong magnesium, and so oxide will definitely do that to you, 100%. So do not take mag oxide. Sometimes I think they said chloride or citrate could do that as well.
Yeah, I just tell people get glycinate. Magnesium glycinate is probably the safest bet to go get that. And try it. All right, cool. Hope that helps, Ruth. What else we got here? I'll let you answer this one.
Is 1,600 to 1,800 calories enough for a 54-year-old, 5'4" female getting 120 grams of protein? That I have no idea. Without knowing more about you, about your body composition, about your training,
your activity level, where you're coming from, what your goals are,
background goals, all of that. So I don't know your weight. I don't know. There's a lot more we would need to know to be able to tell you about calories. But ultimately, if you're looking at calories, then I would say, okay, there's a few things with calories. If you're trying to gain muscle versus lose body fat, those are two different goals. So can you do both of them at once? Maybe, depending on many factors. How lean you are is going to determine that as well. So basically with calories, is it enough? Meaning, is that enough for maintenance? Is that enough for building muscle? Is that enough for body fat loss? A lot more questions.
I'll try to make it more simple for you, Tracy. And that is, don't worry about the calories at all. That's how I look at it, right? The calories don't matter. Your body can't use calories. So it's not great anything. It can be a way that people measure things. Okay.
I don't like it when he says that, because I think it confuses people.
No, I think it's super simple. 120 grams of protein. That's probably good for more than most people.
If you're 120 pounds, it's good. But depends on.
It depends on that. But I'm saying in general, if you're 54 years old, you're 5'4", right? If you weigh 200 pounds, okay, it's very likely that 120 grams of protein is still pretty much adequate for you. Okay. Adequate. It may not, you could maybe use more, but it's not I wouldn't call it under eating protein.
Right, okay? Definitely.
So 120, most of the women I deal with, getting to 100 grams is like, there's no way I can get to 100 grams. So if you're doing 120, you're probably fine. The amount of fat that you need by grams is all you need to play around with. I don't know what you're getting. If you're getting 100 grams of fat right now, or am I gaining fat? Am I losing fat? Do I have good energy? How are my hormones? All those kinds of things. If I'm
what's your
not
goal,
where I'm not where I want to be, maybe I need a little bit more, maybe I need a little bit less, but you play around with that. So it's really, the calories really are a way to look at it. I don't think that they're as simple or effective when you're trying to manipulate what you're actually trying to do. Manipulate the protein, manipulate the fat by grams, and you'll have a lot more success because the calories don't tell you what those specific things are doing to your body.
They can be wildly different for two women of the same height, the same age.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So just think about it that way. Rosie T says, I have no questions, but thank you all for your work to help others. I am on day 228, almost a year of carnivore, and I'm grateful for this way of life. You and a lot of other people, Rosie, very grateful for this way of life.
Congrats.
That is difficult at times with the fat that is needed. You know
what is difficult?
I'm not sure. Getting the fat, not getting
that
the
is
fat.
Difficult at sometimes with the fat that is needed. Yeah,
that would be 120.
120 is
120.
That
okay?
120 grams of fat. Is that what you're saying? You're doing 120 protein, 120 fat.
Yeah, Becky, give us a little more explanation of what you mean by that statement that we can respond to that.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. I don't know about that. My lean body mass is 94 pounds, and I can easily eat 117 grams of beef. Okay. Okay. So
that's why I said let's talk about that.
Let's pull this up.
Family.
Let's do a little calculation.
117 grams of beef is not 117 grams of protein, love.
That is
two very, very different numbers. So whatever the source of protein is, there's going to be a weight on that. That weight of the source of protein, the meat, is not the same as the grams of protein in that meat. So how much protein is in 117 grams of steak?
Okay. So 117 grams of steak is 32 grams of protein.
For this particular type of steak, what is this one?
Beef steak.
It just says beef steak. So depending on the
they're going to be
they're all going to be different too.
Yeah, they're going to be.
Well, a top sirloin is going to be different than a ribeye.
But it's not going to be like 30 to 80, right? It might be 35, 36, or 29, right? 136. It's not going to be a huge difference. Even if it's 50.
Now I'm curious.
Right. Even if it's 50, that's still 50 grams, not 117 grams.
Right. Either way, it's not going to be close.
It's not going to be close to the number of
the
weight of the meat in grams. If you're not using the imperial system like us smart people in the U.S., the weight of the meat in grams is not the same as the amount of protein in the meat. Right? There's other things in the meat. There's other nutrients. There's fat. There's water. There's a bunch of other stuff in there as well. So just the protein is going to be different.
And then she says, I'm not hungry if I'm around 120 to 150. You're not hungry if you eat around 120 to 150 grams of protein or grams of beef.
Right. So that's different. So that could be just learning to eat more.
Yeah.
And that's a process. That is part of the process. So this is another thing that we both deal with is teaching our ladies how to eat more meat, how to eat more in general, because you've been training your body, your mind, your satiety signals, your stomach size, because your stomach size shrinks. When you undereat, guess what, guys? Your stomach actually gets smaller. So having to expand that and tell your body, hey, it's okay, I'm eating more, that takes time and it's a process. So there is a period of time, I tell people, I hate to say it, but you may have to force yourself to eat because you have to retrain your body in what it actually needs because you've been lying to it for so long. That's kind of what it's like, right? All right. That's a great question.
That is good.
Good evening, Coach and everyone. What's going on, Scott? All right. Lisa says, I keep saying I'm going to join the boot camp. I haven't yet because I have fear of the scale, and I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks in October on a mission trip in Cambodia. Wow. That's awesome. Okay. I highly recommend when you get back from the mission trip, then we can talk about the boot camp.
Yeah.
You're not going to even have access to the
good
things
luck
that we're
tracking
doing.
out there.
You're not going to have access to anything. Now, if you want to, what we can do, Lisa, I would love to maybe get on a call with you, right? Set up a consult. We can talk about how you're going to plan and things you can do on your trip to stay on track. And then when you get back, we can pick up and then jump into boot camp or something like that.
I just did that for someone who was going to, was it Japan for 3 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Japan.
Yeah.
And I was the same thing. I was like, yeah, we did a consult. So she had a plan going into it. And when we get back, she'll join my group program.
Yep. No, definitely not crazy. And you said in your other comment about getting in touch with your deeper why. That can definitely be something that you focus on working on between now and then. Like keep working on that. Do the 7 levels of why workbook. If you haven't gotten my worksheet, if you haven't gotten my book yet, get my book, the Ultimate Ketogenic Fitness book. There's a link. You can download the worksheet that has 7 levels of why in it, and then go through that process on the flight. You got plenty of time on the flight, right? Let's see.
Scott question.
I understand. Oh boy, here we go.
Oh, you poked the bear.
Gluconeogenesis.
I saw that.
I understand gluconeogenesis is demand driven. However, I am strict carnivore and having higher levels of blood glucose. Do you think lowering protein or longer fasting is in order? What do you mean by higher levels of blood glucose? First of all, first question. Second question, second insight or thought is if you're talking about your A1C, if you went from, I'll just give you myself as an example. If I was 5'4" before I started carnivore, I've been 5'7", 5.7 in my A1C for about 4 years now, consistently, like bang on every single time I get it tested. I think the lowest I've been, one time I got tested, I was 5'5". It's like, whoa, that's weird. What is it 5'5"? What's wrong? If your A1C is at 5'7", even 5'8", and every single other number that you have in your panel is fine, what are you worried about? Do you have symptoms of having high blood glucose? Are you having issues with energy crashes? Are you having hypertension? Are you having inflammation? Are you having any of the other symptoms and things that are caused by that? There is not a single I've heard probably 3 different theories on why A1C goes up for people on carnivore. I don't think anybody actually knows. Have you heard any definitive, this is what it is? Because I talked to, you hear Dr. Bickman say it's this, and then Dr. Sivas says that's bullshit. And then Dr. Sivas says this, and then Dr. Berry says, no, that's not it. And then Dr. Berry says this, and then somebody over here is like, no,
well,
that's not it.
We don't have that kind of science. We don't have any definitive.
Right, because nobody's really studying what, okay, and this is a whole.
Well, nobody studied carnivores, period. Right. We have one study that it was an empirical study. It was based on surveys.
Surveys, right? We have one epidemiological study that shows the benefits, right? Indicates the benefits of what a carnivore diet can do. But there's nothing that is out there that says this mechanism physiologically does this, in your body, and this means this, right? We have every single recommendation from a nutrition perspective and from a medical perspective. Every recommendation for the markers that we use to determine health are based on people who regularly have 150 to 300 grams of carbs per day. That's what it's based on.
With my experiment, I can't freaking imagine putting that many carbs in my system.
You're doing like 50 and you're
I'm so uncomfortable. Y'all, I've been doing a new experiment just for a week so far, and it going above 50. Yeah. Which I haven't done in an incredibly long time.
You've been like in a fog all day today.
Oh, it's been horrible. Yeah, and I just feel like so full, and my stomach is just like distended. It's not like my gut problems. It's not that bad, but it's just this heaviness. I forgot what that feels like.
We went to eat the other day and she was like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Now that was the veggie, because I had veggies. I haven't been doing it with like fibrous veggies at home. Right. But we did. We ate out Friday night, and I got like this hash, a lobster hash, and then the duck hash, and it had like
sweet potatoes.
It had potatoes. It had onions. It had like a bunch of veggies that I don't eat. And on the walk home, I looked probably 4 months pregnant, 5 months pregnant.
Nah, not that. Maybe
that's what it felt like.
3.5.
It felt like that. Felt like I was ready to pop out twins.
So okay, there's some vagaries there, Scott, without getting into details, and we won't get into that, but potentially lowering protein. If you're eating 200 grams of protein in one meal, then I would say you probably need to lower your protein and break that up into 3 meals a day. Right.
And I don't know how
Things like
often you're testing your blood glucose, but the concern is more about if it's elevated and it remains elevated. So if it comes back down 2 hours, 3 hours postprandial after a meal, you're okay, even if you're getting a spike. Yeah. And ask yourself, is it a spike? Like, how much of a blood glucose rise are we really getting? Yeah. Because it should be, you should get a small glucose rise after a meal, any meal. And then it should come back down. Yeah. So
hope that answers your question ish.
See if there's if he answered any follow-up, any of our follow-up questions. No, everybody's just saying hi to me. Hi, everyone.
Pamela says, does it take an adjustment period for electrolytes? Even when taking the raw ones, I feel bloated and swollen. Can some people not take electrolytes? Not everybody. I have run into people, and there are some people who don't take any, and they're perfectly fine. So again, this goes back to what I was talking about before, guys. You have to experiment. When I say 3 to 5 grams, start at 3 grams of sodium and see how you feel.
Start at a gram. If you're not doing anything, right? I always say wherever figure out where you are first, right, and then slowly, small increments. And with my clients, I tell them to use their symptoms as a guide. If they're not getting any symptoms, we don't just dump electrolytes in at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, usually electrolytes are, you're not getting enough if you have energy issues. If you're eating enough protein and fat, you're getting adequate food, you're getting adequate nutrition, and you're getting good sleep, and you're trying to work out, you don't have energy for workouts, you don't have energy for the day, you get up in the morning and you're just like, blah, that's a good sign that your electrolytes need to be.
You have the brain fog, you have headaches, you have muscle cramps.
Yeah. So, but that not everybody. I know plenty of people.
Bella's she's prime example.
She's a little bit of an outlier because she actually has an issue with getting salt. When she has salt, it actually goes the opposite direction. She actually has issues.
Because she tried doing it and she had problems.
There are other people who just seem to be fine without it. And there's a lot of people in the hardcore carnivore spaces who are like, no, you don't need the salt. You absolutely don't need it. And they're fine without it. Now, that's what they say. They may not be fine, and they may not know that they're not fine because they're so dogmatic about what they're doing. But that's a whole nother discussion.
True.
So I'm not going to get into
that. And are they doing blood work? Are they long term? You might be fine for a few months.
Yeah.
But you can be fine with nutritional deficiencies that are growing for months. Look at vegans that you don't see the problems until years later. And at that point, they need a serious intervention.
Yeah. All right. T-Po is asking the opposite question. How do you get your husband on board? So T, I would say
he's an everything in moderation guy.
We'll talk about that. Watch the replay if you weren't on earlier. Watch the replay of this video when it's finished, and we talk about how to get your partner, people in your circle, your families, how to get them involved. But as far as the thinking everything in moderation, you can absolutely have a logical agreement with that and still talk about the choices that matter. Everything in moderation. I'm 100% behind that. I don't want to eat 300 grams of protein a day. I'm not trying to eat 300 grams of fat every day. I'm not trying to put 6 ribeyes in my face.
We eat moderately.
Right? You eat based on what you need. Okay. The idea of the whole thing of moderation is it's set the current standard of moderation and calories and controlling your eating and portion sizing and all that kind of stuff is artificially restricting and controlling the amount of food you eat based off of a number you pull out of your ass. Okay. It has nothing to do with how much of my eating is actually helping me get better, improve my health and my body function. Figure that out, and then that's what is adequate. So change the conversation from moderation to what does my body need and make sure that it's adequate. And I think that may help there a
little bit. Well, this kind of makes me think about when you met my parents. And my mom might
watch. A lovely experience.
My mom's probably going to watch this, so be careful.
It's a lovely experience.
No, but he just got it was his mom has been carnivore now for a while, right?
Almost 5 years.
Yeah, and almost your whole family has dabbled in some way.
My dad's doing a lot more of it now. My sister, my brother have played around with it.
And My parents are more, well, first of all, they're Mediterranean. So they do like a Mediterranean diet, but they'll still have some treats and stuff of that. I hate to call them treats. It's a mind thing, but standard American diet stuff. My dad in particular. And for Bronson, it was like a light bulb moment of, hey, some people just have no interest in changing anything that they're doing. Now my parents are getting older. They're both in their 70s now. They have ailments. They have things that are bothering them, whether it's joints or deeper health issues. And now they're asking more questions and they're getting interested and they're wanting to know because it relates to something that matters to them. So I mean, ultimately, you can't force this kind of stuff on anyone who has no interest at all in doing it. So the best thing you can do in those situations with your spouse is to not push anything on them. Do it happily, share all of the benefits you're getting from it. And that is going to be, you are the advocate for what you're doing. And if he sees that, hey, your libido is higher and you're happier and you're looking damn good, that might get him more interested. But do what you're doing, cook some meals for the both of you to share, and don't make a big deal of it. Don't make it seem daunting and difficult and grueling for you. And if his everything in moderation is causing you struggles with staying on track with your goals, now you got to sit down and have a conversation about how it's impacting you.
Well, after you've already had an initial conversation telling him what you're talking about, what we talked about earlier, where you're trying to go, what you're trying to do, what you need from him, the support, all that kind of stuff. So when we talked earlier about making sure you sit down with the people in your circle that are close to you, that's not a one-time conversation. That could be 18 conversations in a week, right? That could be a whole bunch of conversations over years. Whatever it is, while you're doing it, you may need to have regular touch points and, keep touch with what's going on and making sure that everyone's on the same sheet of music. Setting expectations is the number one failure when it comes to failed relationships. You got to have right expectations, or the same
clarity,
clear expectations. Clear expectations. All right. Quick question. I'm data collecting using CGM. Skip it. I feel great, not worried. Why is my blood doing that? Going to 50 at night. Low blood glucose.
Not diabetic.
50 at night.
Meat heavy, no veg, carbs. Meter goes off at night. Oh, that happened to you in the middle of the night when you wore the CGM. Drove him crazy and he was like, screw this thing.
Horrible. So ridiculous. Get off of me.
Waking us both up in the middle of the night.
I know, right? Okay, just thinking about the process of high blood glucose means your body is doing things. Essentially, it's energy. If your body needs to do things, it's going to give itself some fuel. That's just one way to look at it. And that means when it's doing things, that means you are in what we call a catabolic state. Okay, your body's active. It's breaking down. It's functioning. It's doing things. But by things, I mean activity. Let's just use it. I'll just try to keep it as simple as I can. When you're sleeping, it's doing things as well. But the things that it's doing have to do with rest, recovery, rebuilding, and restoring. Okay. That is a low energy state. It doesn't need a lot of glucose in the system for that to happen. So that's why you see a whole bunch of things in your body change from night to morning and from day to night. Okay. Insulin, HGH, testosterone, IGF-1, all the hormones in our body that are about growth and building tend to go up at night. Okay. Cortisol goes up in the morning. It goes down at night, right? Blood glucose goes down at night. It goes up in the morning. So all the things that we have to do to get our body ready for sleep and recovery go up at night and then down in the morning. All the things we need for our body to be active during the day go down at night and up in the morning. So that's one of the reasons why our blood glucose goes down when we're sleeping. And then that's why we have dawn effect, where it's up in the hundreds and everybody's like, oh my God, I was at 110 this morning, freaking out. That's fine. As long as it goes down after a couple hours again, then you should be fine. So I don't think it's a problem unless you start having problems.
Yeah. If you're having symptoms of hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, blood sugar imbalances, that's different.
Yeah. Bet my mom is going to miss me when I move. We're only moving like an hour away, so it's not going to be too bad. If you want. They don't want us to drive up too.
Oh, we'll do that too. Yeah. But I mean, we're not too far for her to get to us. If she wanted
to. Becky said getting 120 grams of protein. Yes. So don't try to go straight to 120 grams. If you're doing 90 now.
Was that what she was saying was hard to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're doing 90 now, then shoot for 95, shoot for 100. That's your first goal. When you get there consistently, then maybe shoot for 105, 110, do that consistently, and then try. Like, take your time. It doesn't have to happen overnight. That's usually the biggest thing when you give somebody a number and they're like, oh my God, that's such a big. Okay, you know what? I shouldn't have given you that number. I'm just going to give you 10 more than what you're doing now. Let's try that.
Yep.
Right? Think about it that way. All right.
How many grams? What is Scott asking?
I'm grilling tri-tip and flap steak right now. Haha. I love it. Deb says there's nothing wrong with the metric system.
My New Zealander.
What
did we miss about the follow-ups from the other question?
That's what I'm looking at. Okay, Scott says my A1C has gone up from 5.7 to 6.4. Okay. So that would be something I would definitely look at. There could be a bunch of different things going on there. How much are you getting? When are you eating? How much are you eating at a time? What other things may be going on in your life? So I don't know if I could answer that question directly, Scott. If you wanted to get on a call or something, we could probably do that. But
he said I had never felt better.
Yeah. I mean, you feel great, right? Yeah. I would say, you know what I would say, Scott, is if you don't have one, get a CGM and track what the trends are. When is it going up and what is causing that 6.4? 5.7, I'm not worried about. 6.4 is high. I would love to see what a CGM would look like on you so you could see when it's high and, you know, what is happening during the day where your average is so high. What's happening?
Get a fasting insulin
in that,
too.
Yeah, in that area under the curve of your CGM, like what's going on. That would be really interesting to see. Something to think about, Scott. That could really help you figure out exactly what's up. Let's see, 150 grams. 50 grams of carbs sounds awful, right? Okay, definitely set up the consult, get the book. I'm looking to see if there's a lot of comments today. I love this. I think I am broken. Okay, hold on a second. We got another one here from Scott. Scott's on a roll tonight. I think I am broken. I get a dawn effect up to 140, then rise to 160 or higher during morning workout. Okay. Then it usually goes down after 8. Okay, so what's happening is okay, so if that's what's happening consistently when you're working out and it's fine throughout the rest of the day, then you're artificially increasing your A1C because you're working out in the morning while your blood glucose is already high, and then you're demanding more energy, so it's making like you're doubling up on that. I would say, do you have to work out in the morning or is that preference? I'd be curious then to see what happens if you work out in the afternoon. How soon, or just take a couple days and just see how soon does your blood glucose go down after you wake up if you're not working out? Like, does it stay high for 5 hours regardless, or does it go down after
how many hours are we talking? Yeah.
Right. So that would be something I would check out and look
and see. Or maybe you can eat something before your workout.
Potentially. Yeah, there's a couple things to look at there, but it definitely sounds like you got yourself set up for some experimentation of things to play around with. Boogie water question?
What?
What, Juliana? What do you got? Boogie
Voss brand natural spring water versus artesian
Artesian.
water. What's the takeaway? Google confused me more.
Castlot Sailors. What? You're gonna make us Google and look up brands of water? I tell you what, we're not gonna do that right now. Everybody watching this video, go Google
Voss versus
Voss brand spring water versus artesian
Okay, look.
water.
Here's the lowdown on
What's
water because
what's boogie water?
I
That's
don't
not-
know. Maybe she's saying I don't know. But we just recently went down. Well, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with water. Spring water. If it says spring water, it should have the name of the spring on it. If it's a natural spring water, it's good.
Yeah.
Solid. The only thing is when they store them in plastic, now you got to worry about the plastic leaching. So good spring water in glass bottles is going to be the best option.
Yeah.
There.
All right. Last question of the night, guys, and we got to take off. It's
Christina.
been almost an hour and 20. How do you figure out the lean body mass to know the appropriate protein
She
intake?
said bougie water, not boogie water. Bougie.
It said boogie, didn't it? Boogie?
That's hilarious.
Okay. How do you figure out lean body mass to know the appropriate protein intake? I'm overweight. I've lost close to 40 pounds and starting, and weight loss isn't my priority. Healing is. Okay. So the first thing to do would be to get, the easiest way would be to get some kind of body composition scanner, get a DEXA, get an in-body, do something, get on a scan that tells you exactly what it is. It'll tell you, bing, this is what your body is. You don't have to do any calculation. The other way would be to do something like a caliper or a tape test and get an estimation.
Get a tape measure and take some measurements.
Yeah.
Look up the Navy body fat calculator online, and it'll tell you it wants neck measurement, waist measurement, and hips measurements.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 measurements you need with your weight, and it will tell you an estimation.
Yeah, it'll give you an estimation of your body fat. And then you just take that body fat
mass
into pounds. So if, just as an example, if you weigh 200 pounds and you're 25% body fat, that means you have 50 pounds of fat on your body.
The rest of it
is lean mass. So you just take that 25% in pounds, take it out of the equation, and what you're left with is what your protein grams would be, essentially. All right, that's how you do it. Cool, guys. Thank you very much for coming on. We started slow, but then we got on fire because this lady showed up. She brought in the fire.
And I brought my girls.
And you brought your girls too. Appreciate it. See you guys next week.